Hey everyone, and welcome to another Pod Sound School podcast live.
Hello everybody.
Today we're going to be talking all about avoiding them podcasting blues.
And we're all festive.
Yes, we're festive in the spirit of the holidays.
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad.
So,
Feliz
we are going live
Navidad.
on Twitter and we're also live on the YouTube.
Shh, I'm singing.
Oh, lo siento.
I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas.
I just got shushed pretty hard. So we are here inside the Twitter live. So if you guys have any comments, we'll be checking those periodically. Also over on Instagram, Veronica's running that over there. So if you have any comments there. And it looks like we're also live on YouTube here. So hey guys on YouTube. Hi, Together Always Vlogs. Thanks for joining.
Hello. So a funny story. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
A funny story about that song. You know, that song has been around forever. And I'm a fan of Jose Feliciano. So that was my first exposure to English. So I would like sing like very loud, Feliz Navidad. And then when he would say, I would be like, I want to wish you all I want to wish, because I didn't know any English. But I would just come up with sounds that would sound like English.
I want to be sure. That song was your first exposure to English?
Yes.
There's probably a lot of people who are in that same boat.
I know, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's like, the song is half in Spanish and half in English.
Yeah.
So you're like, as I grew older, then I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Oh, okay. Now I understand as my English vocabulary got better, which was like 5 years ago.
Now
I'm still struggling with the tongues.
Well, it looks like we have a casual birder who joined on Twitter. How's it going?
Hello.
With that, why don't we get into the episode? Do you want to?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Just like that.
Just like that.
So we don't want to give a little update or.
I don't know what the update would be. Whatever.
You haven't done anything
noteworthy other than just, the same podcasting world stuff,
We released a new video all about Facebook last Monday.
Mm-hmm. We did.
It's on our YouTube channel. We're trying to get our Patskis to really get into growing their community by having Facebook groups on Facebook. It's been such a fun way for us to grow our community, and it's been so nice to have everybody just in one group full of Patskis that we can interact with, that we can provide valuable content to. And so if you have some time to go to our Facebook, Podcasting for Bosses, or our YouTube channel to see how you can make how you can create your own Facebook group and how you can customize it as well. Mm-hmm. So that's what's new.
That's what's
new, I guess. And Christmas is coming, so like everybody else, we've been busy getting ready for Christmas. I hope everybody's having a good time.
Yeah.
And getting family members and Christmas going.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He's like, you are off script.
I'm like, this is off script.
You're not allowed.
You're not allowed to go off script. I don't want to talk about, I'm wearing the Christmas sweater. I'm festive. I'm in the spirits.
Okay, get in the spirit.
Okay,
then.
Cool. So today we're going to be talking about avoiding the podcasting blues.
Yes.
And
so should we start?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start it.
Okay.
So with the podcasting blues, why don't you bring us into the podcasting episode, Veronica?
Okay. So hello, everybody. I'm Veronica.
And I'm Studio Steve.
And we are the Pod Sound School.
Yes, we are.
We provide you with all the tools you need to plan, produce, launch, and promote your podcast in a strategic and successful way.
Mm-hmm. And usually in a fun way, too.
In a fun and creative way.
Sometimes we try to be outrageous, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fun, creative, and professional. And today we're talking all about how to avoid the podcasting blues. You've also heard the term probably pod fade, which is when we start to fade out.
Like
with
this.
our podcast. Like, ooh.
You start
So-
slowly.
We all start full stream, or full steam. We all start full steam. So
And
excited
down
about our
the stream.
podcast. Why don't you take it from here, Veronica?
We all start full steam. So excited about our podcast. Everything is so new. We're getting attention from our friends, co-workers, and family. We're getting a lot of validation. Even a few strangers have discovered us. We're learning new things and gaining confidence. But as the weeks and months pass, we start realizing that podcasting requires a ton of work and time commitment. We also realize it's difficult to grow an audience and become discoverable on the podcast players. Shoot. We might encounter our first negative reviews. Oh no. Our friends and family who were at first very involved might start to lose interest or stop giving us the constant validation that we've become so addicted to
And that we crave.
and
Yes.
that we craved. And if we're not careful and continue to take proactive steps, our once beloved podcast can start to become a burden. No,
Oh, man.
I know.
So today, in the spirit of the resolution season, we're going to talk about 3 things to be wary of and to avoid so that you don't slip into those podcasting blues. Because your podcast deserves it, and you deserve it. And you got to just keep on going, and you're going to get to your goals eventually. So those 3 things that we're going to talk about are discouragement. Then we're going to cover not seeing results fast enough, and also time and money and the return on your time and money. These are big, probably the biggest things that start to get us discouraged and start to give us those podcasting blues.
Yes. And before we dive into the episode, we want to let you know that nobody has bought us coffee. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
We were having a competition to see who the favorite host is. And turns out that it's neither of us because we haven't gotten any coffee.
Yes.
But since Christmas is coming, we thought that you might want to show us some holiday cheer and buy us a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
There's a link in this episode description and buy us coffee and a buy us coffee button on our website. So if you feel that warm and fuzzy, you know, if you're like about to go on your Christmas shopping and you're like, oh, these people from the pod sounds cool. They're kind of nice. They're cool people. And just, you know, click on the link and buy us coffee. And even better than a cup of coffee would be to show your support on Patreon. We help our community of podcasters with tons of free content. The majority of the work that we do it for free. So if you feel it in your heart to help the Pod Sounds Cool grow so that we can help more people to realize their dreams, become a patron. The link is in the episode, and also you can find it at www.podsoundscool.com/support us.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Let me check. There's
there's a few comments over there. It also looks like we have Eric Hunley on YouTube.
Oh.
And
Fernanda Gonzalez, Life of Survivors, Room Dog.
we have a Aruba. And,
Yes, we do buy presents for each other. Do you give each other presents? I don't know. We kind of buy things for each other all the time. So we're in a pickle because when
and
Christmas
anytime
comes, it's like,
Veronica gets a present, and then she can't wait until Christmas to give it to me. So I
yes,
just get
I
it
can.
all the time. So
Yeah.
I've already had some.
And
Christmas
Steven's
presents
present is me.
Yes.
My company.
I mean, but that is really a very good present.
Yeah.
So we've got Ken and Taz, and the circle opens over on Twitter. Hey guys, happy holidays.
Christmas kisses.
Let's avoid those podcast blues.
Yes.
And let's talk about some of the 3 main things that can happen. And the first one is discouragement. And with discouragement, this has a few different subcategories that we're talking about too. And that is negative reviews, the discouragement that we can get from family and friends. And then also maybe that you and or your co-host are starting to get bored with the topic or the format of your show. That happens fairly often too. So why don't we start with negative reviews? And with negative reviews, we I think when it comes to negative reviews, one of my favorite things that we've read is from Marie Forleo's book, which is, what's the name of her book? I forget.
Everything is figureoutable.
Everything is figureoutable, yeah. So in that, she's talking about how people who leave negative reviews are probably not very high performing. And if they were very productive people whose opinion that you should value, then they wouldn't have time to leave all these negative reviews, And so she recommends asking yourself, do they have a body of work that I respect? And if they do, then maybe you really do want to give their negative review some thought.
Yeah, you want to go deeper into that review if it's somebody that you admire and that you admire the work that they do.
Yeah, this can be really hard. I mean, and if you're not careful, I know with myself, this can take you down for a while. And so it's a really difficult one. It can hurt. It can get you in the feels. But the one thing that's really cool about that Veronica brought up with this is this can give you an opportunity for personal growth because it sort of fires up your insecurities, and all of a sudden you have to look deep into yourself and deep back into your past about why these negative reviews are affecting you so much. And so it's actually a cool opportunity for that. And then also another thing you can do with negative reviews, a lot of times, if the review is on a platform that you can respond back to, like on Twitter or social media, I know on the podcast directories, they're just stuck there and you can't do anything about them. And those are the real thorns in the side. Is you can actually leave a really positive and thoughtful response back to the negative reviewer. And a lot of times you can turn your haters into some of your biggest fans. So the other thing that we would recommend here too is just to stay away from your phone.
Yes. Stay away from your phone, from your computer while you're dealing with all those emotions, because, we're humans and those comments and those words are going to linger in our heads for a while. So, just don't keep them to yourself. Try to share those with somebody that you trust. That person will help you to gain perspective.
Yeah.
And definitely don't try to hunt those people and harass them on social media.
Yeah, no. Are
right?
you looking at me?
Don't try to find who their wives are.
I don't know if it's just the snowman sweater, but is my head abnormally large? It's like a big white ball,
You're like...
I'm Frosty.
You're Frosty.
I'm Frosty the Snowman. Happy birthday. So with those negative reviews, just don't dwell on them for too long. You could take them with a grain of salt if there is a piece in there. A lot of times I like to say turn on the sweetheart message or turn on the subtitles. A lot of the times behind the mean things that people are saying is actual valuable information that they're trying to convey. Yeah. Which is, but that's something.
Yeah, it's usually like people who are hurting themselves. And that's why they're out to hurt other people. And they're not aware of in the moment of the repercussions that those nasty words can have on people and their work and their confidence.
Yeah. And also a lot of times too, I think it can be that you are doing something they wish they could be doing, and a lot of times it's because they're insecure too. And they're, like Veronica said, they're hurting. So it's really not worth too much of your time here. And it's definitely do not allow it to talk you out of continuing on with your podcast.
Yeah. And if that doesn't work, hey, negative attention, it's still attention.
Yes. What do they say?
It means that person is listening to your podcast. It means that chances are that they are faithful listeners and that they've been following you for a while.
Yeah.
So just get comfortable with them.
There's no such thing as bad publicity. And also I can't help but think of Howard Stern, how, the majority of his listeners of the ratings he was getting were from people who hated him, so just, That's good. And you'll hear people say that too. Oh, it's a rite of passage. Now you know your show's made it because you've gotten a negative review. And, you know, so the next one is discouragement.
Discouragement from family and friends.
Yes.
So you're going to hear things like, don't you think your hobby is getting a little expensive, honey?
Yes.
Or
are you crazy?
Are you crazy? Why are you wasting your time and money in that? Are you making any money out of your podcast?
And this is sad because a lot of times the people who love us the most, the people who are closest to us, are the ones who can be the most discouraging. And that a lot of times can come from a place of love. We've talked about this before too. And that can just be very hard not to have the support of people who are close to you. And a lot of times that's just because they don't really understand, you know, and so what we say here is you just have to believe in yourself. And if possible, you know, surround yourself with people who are enthusiastic and supportive and who believe in being crazy and taking risks and, you know, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was turning the camera on you.
Oh, you were turning the camera around?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that we don't share with our family and friends. We don't, you know, we are all struggle when we're starting a project, when we're starting a business, when we're starting a podcast. And we really don't, we don't know, we're like kind of developing and our vision and kind of finding our way. And there's a lot of behind the scenes that they don't get to see. So they get to see only like 20 or 10% of what you're doing, but they don't know what are your plans or where are you taking your whole project or your whole podcast. So this is why, you know, those things over the holidays when you get together with your family, you just, you know, take it as it comes. But just be, you know, realize that you have your goals and that you created your show for a reason and that you're gonna stick to it and that you're gonna make it successful. And then, you know, one day they're gonna be talking about how successful you are and how good you're doing with your show.
And how cool it was that you persevered. And
that you persevered
well.
and that you didn't listen to them.
Yeah, and
because they're coming from a good place. They want to protect you from failure, but there's not such thing as failure.
And something
there isn't really.
Was really interesting when you and I were talking about this point, preparing this, is I mentioned to Veronica, well, what about the American Idol phenomenon, right? How you always wonder, how could their family members let them go on the show when they know that they're just going to be humiliated, right? And I'm talking about the ones that American Idol and America's Got Talent and all those shows where they humiliate people for the ratings. And Veronica was like, no, it's not like that at all. You know, they actually got to have the experience of going and singing in public, you know? And so just going through all of the experiences that you're going to have as a podcaster, whether you're the greatest podcaster in the world or not, is still going to be super valuable and always worth it. And so don't listen.
All the people that you're going to meet, all the networking that you're going to do, all the guests that you're going to have over in your show, all the sponsorships, the events that you will attend, the things the things that you will get exposed to. You're going to see other people who are, you know, selling the art that you wanted to sell but didn't have the courage to do so. So now you see that other people are doing it, and then I'm going to do it too. And I'm going to use my podcast to give me that confidence and that having that. It's like, you know, I don't even know how to say it, but it's like having just like one step instead of that click.
Instead.
You know, it's just like, you just go to somebody and be like, hey, do you want to go have a cup of coffee with me? They're going to be like, no, I'm too busy. But hey, would you be a guest on my podcast? Yeah, sure.
Yes. And that's...
It opens doors. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. And one thing that also I think our biggest recommendation for overcoming this discouragement from your family and your friends is networking. And that's to don't podcast in a vacuum. You know, get out there and build relationships with other podcasters, build relationships with professionals in your niche, attend podcasting events. There's just such a fun culture of podcasters out there.
Do you want to surround yourself with people who are taking podcasting seriously, who are using their podcast in a successful way, who are making money out of their podcast, who are using their podcast to network and be connected to people in their niche that are very influential. That those are the people that you want to be surrounded by. So when you get this kind of comments, then you know that you know your thing, and that you are around, and when you're around the people who are doing the same as you want to do, and they have found a way to be successful at it, is like, okay, I want to be there, and I'm going to be there. And many people won't understand, including my family. They won't understand what I'm working on right now, but they'll see.
They'll see, yeah.
You'll see, Tia Marta.
Tia Marta.
I will show you, Martica.
Tia Marta's so nice. She would be like, I love that you're speaking into the microphone. Oh, are you on the YouTubes?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Like my family, yeah. My family are my biggest supporters. I don't have that problem. I think it's the American culture that is a little bit judgmental. My family in Colombia, like that, they're like rooting for me. They think I'm a YouTube celebrity. They think I'm a model. I mean, they're like bragging with everybody there.
So we've got some fun comments here on Twitter. Read through some of these. Casual Birders says, great idea to share with a few supporters to gain perspective. I have some trusted podcaster friends that I would talk to.
Good job.
I used to play video games as a hobby. Podcasting is far more rewarding, and then somebody popped in and said, Merry Christmas. Hey, Big Daddy.
Hey, Big Daddy.
Ooh. And
Daddy.
podcasting is a brother and sisterhood. Familia. Mario and Chaos podcast. Yes, definitely. Okay, well, let's move on to... let me just check.
And then the other thing that we didn't mention is believe in yourself, believe in your goals. Your goals are what's going to keep you motivated and rooted, and it doesn't matter if a storm comes and hits you, then you know that you're going to be standing still and that you're going to be working hard towards growing your show.
And then our friends over on YouTube, Together Always Vlogs, are just getting ready to start podcasting.
Yay!
And that's why they're here. Awesome. Well, our channel's a great place to be for that. So
Welcome.
If you're just starting, welcome. We have tons of free content that'll give you pretty much everything you need to know to come out of the gate swinging with that. Okay, so let's talk about getting bored. So you get into podcasting and you start on a topic or with a certain format. And after a while, it can start to feel boring. Maybe it's just your co-host that's bored. Maybe it's you that's bored with your co-host. And this can sometimes be something even more than boredom. This can be some secret prejudices building up or resentments building up. Maybe you don't like the way your co-host hogs the microphone and constantly interrupts you.
Maybe you don't like his or her breath.
Yeah, or that you can't
or that
stand
they
his,
spit.
Yeah, or his giant carrota that looks like the head of a snowman.
Or that they go off script.
Especially that they do a bunch of, I don't know. Anyway, this is good though. This has been healthy for us. It's not Chris. What is it? Without Paul McCartney singing in the background and your parents screaming, then you know it's Christmas. Simply having. Look at what you're doing to the children. Okay.
Shut up.
The main thing is to just be open-minded here and to reinvent yourself. If you're finding yourself getting bored, then talk about it. Don't let that boredom or that obligatory thing that you get into with a co-host or even with your podcast. I know a lot of people and podcasters that we've worked with, they have made it a goal not to give up, and they're just going to keep podcasting every week because they said they would, whether it's boring or not. And, if you lighten up and you don't get stubborn with that and you have an open mind and you get creative and let your creative juices flow, there's really no reason you ever need to get bored, no matter what topic you're on. You can still stay inside the music niche or the film niche or the fitness niche or the news or comedy, whatever style of podcast you have, and the world's your oyster. So a lot of times there's something else going on besides being bored or just kind of getting, I don't know about this thing anymore, that you can kind of, invite a new co-host into the mix, start interviewing people or stop interviewing people, or go scripted or go unscripted, start a side project and then a big thing to do here is to reach out to your listeners and ask them for their input.
That's very important. Yeah. Before you make any major changes, make sure that you reach out to your community and ask them for ideas. They'll let you know.
They'll let you know what kind of ideas you could do, what they'd like to hear. So that's it for the first point, discouragement. And I think let's just move right along to the next point, which is not seeing results. And by not seeing results, what do we mean by that?
What we mean by not seeing results, let me switch right here. So what we mean is you're obsessively, constantly looking at the numbers, and you don't see the same 10, 20, 50, 100, 1,000 people listening to your show every week, and you seem to be stuck. As far as your listeners. So for this, what we can tell you is to be patient and be consistent with your show. Be consistent with.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say too, when you're talking about the audience size or being obsessive with numbers, we heard this analogy but let's say you're kind of discouraged that you only ever have 100 listeners to your show. Well, try to pack your apartment filled with 100 people or your house with 100 people, and you couldn't fit 100 people into your house, to entertain them. So it's not something to be discouraged by at all. And so I think our first suggestion is to...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say is to reevaluate your strategy.
Yeah. And then what I was going to say about, your numbers and your analytics and all that, it's good to look at them to see your progress. However, don't allow them to get you discouraged about your show. We just get so caught up in what we do that we don't take time to stop and look at when we started. So just look back a few months ago, look back a year ago, where you were, like how when you started you only have 10, 20 people, and now you have all these people. You have 400 1,000 followers on your Instagram. You have people tuning in for your live videos. You have a number of episodes that are people, they're ready for people to listen to. You have put a lot of work into your show, and I know that sometimes it seems like it's just not enough, because as human beings we're constantly comparing ourselves with other people who are doing better than us, or those who are not doing as good as we are doing, as well as we're doing, because we want to feel better. But if we just look at our progress, if we just take those analytics just to remind ourselves, like, wow, it should always be, instead of it should be like, wow, like, we have 100 people tuning in each week to listen to us. Like, how cool is that?
That's really
so
cool.
If you go like from that mentality, like that, thank you, thank you, universe. Or, we don't talk about religious things in this podcast, but just thank the universe and you'll get more.
Yeah, you'll get a lot more. And I like what you were saying there about the analytics, that it's like more of a guide to show you what your current listeners do like the most. So look at those analytics to see which episodes perform the best, so that you know what episodes to keep doing and things, right? And then the other thing, like I was saying, is what you can do here if you're not getting the results you want is to reevaluate your strategy. And so there's some questions that you can ask yourself here. You can say, who are you doing this for? What is the main goal you have for your podcast? Who is your ideal listener, or you could call it your avatar or your target audience? And are you speaking their language? Do you know where they're at? Are you engaging in conversations with them? Is there a problem that they have that you could help to solve? All of these questions will really help you to reach more people and help you to sort of start catering your content and changing the content of your podcast more to what your particular audience actually wants. And you'll start getting better results from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is...
also, another thing that you can do is to look at your marketing strategy. This is very important. Look at what are the social media platforms that you're using and how they're performing. Are you showing up consistently on these platforms? Are you providing value to your communities on those platforms? Not just showing up every so often to say new episode out, come and listen, once a week. That is just not enough. Are you making the platform?
Yeah.
Are you making the platform?
Are you making the platform? Are you making the platform?
I'm reading the script.
Are you making the platform?
Are you making the platform? No.
Are you making the platform happy?
Oh, are you making the platform happy? Which means that you are optimizing your accounts, that you're posting stuff that it's pertinent to the social media platform that you're using. Twitters are microblogs and funny tweets and interesting tweets. Instagram is all about picture images and looking good and showing up on Instagram stories and showing what you're up to. So just make sure that
you've done the research.
And that those that you're playing by the rules of those platforms.
Playing by the rules of the platform.
And that those are growing as well with your listenership.
And that you have an audience there as well. And you'll find that you start entertaining and having conversations and being part of sort of being a content creator or an entertainer beyond just being a podcaster.
Yeah.
And then your podcast starts to grow, which is wonderful.
And don't be afraid to try new things. And we're trying to get our podcasts to get into video. And we're talking about people who are not comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Who would say like, no to Instagram stories.
No.
Like they're showing up on Instagram stories and they're like, all of a sudden this account that I had no idea that existed, there's this person with a little video inviting me to listen to his or her show. So I'm going to pay attention to that. So don't be afraid to change your strategy, to try new things. I mean, who's going to judge you for that?
Yeah.
Who's going to say anything? Just try it.
Yeah, and with the social media stuff, we have a ton of helpful information that we put together, not only episodes on our podcast, but also on YouTube. We have a whole playlist all about social media specific to podcasts, and there's a ton of useful information there because we could spend a whole episode just talking about that, and we have spent whole episodes talking about that.
Yeah.
So, reevaluate your strategy and take a look at your audience, take a look at where they're at, who they are, and then also really think about what your own personal goals are. And let's see, before we move on to the last point, let's see if we have any other comments here.
We have, it's all about evolving. Here, she said, so true, thank you.
Nice sweater. I know that you're not talking about me.
Who said that?
And it looks like Joe Pardo joined. Hey, Joe. I'm not sure. Oh, Yamatime told me nice sweater. Thanks, Yamatime. And Yamatime invited 14,000 people. Thanks, Yamatime.
Wow. Thank you.
Appreciate that. And then Casual Birder again said it's important to have goals that are not number driven and try not to compare yourself with others. Yes, exactly. And let's pop over on YouTube again real quick before we move on. See if there's anybody over here. Any questions over here? Oh, hey, we got Eileen Smith just stopping by to say happy holidays.
Eileen!
Hey, Eileen!
We love you, Eileen!
We love you, Eileen. And we also have Objective Irony that stopped by. Have a noble goal, they say.
Yes.
Thanks, you guys.
Yes, that is so important.
That is very important.
Yeah, when you choose a goal that is not just attached to you personally, but it's attached to your community, it's attached to other humans, then it makes it so you don't give up because those people count on you. That
Yeah.
is so important. A
Very
novel objective.
Yes, it's really important to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can move on to our last point for today's episode. And
Yes.
just a reminder, we post these episodes on Thursday, and this is going to be our last official episode
Yes.
before the new year.
We're going to miss you
We're going to miss you guys.
so much.
We might pop in with a surprise episode, but officially this is our last.
We'll come back if you buy us coffee. It
Yeah.
would be so sad. It would like threaten people that we're going
Why
to
won't
give
you
up.
buy us a coffee?
and then we can come back because nobody
Nobody bought us coffee.
bought us coffee. I
Yeah,
know.
we'd wait a little while and then we'd come back, you know.
And then like whatever.
So we always do a nice trimmed down, edited, mostly informational version
Yeah,
of these
because he
live
likes
streams.
to go off script.
Yeah, I really do. And then and complain about my giant head. I've been thinking about it. I think this would help, but then because then when you see the massive expanse that is my body, the head doesn't look as big. But I get
So the head has gotten fat.
I think that's all. I think
I've
my
never
nose
heard
is
that
getting fat.
before.
My fingers are getting fat. It's just, I mean, it's the holidays.
That's
I gotta
another.
stay warm.
I think it's a podcasting thing.
It is. It's just sitting in a chair all day
Yeah,
long.
just take the before and after.
Yeah.
Before you start your podcast and when you're like down the road
Mhm.
6 months a year, all
Oh,
the
no.
weight that you've gained. Just
Okay.
kidding.
So the last point for how to avoid the podcasting blues is time and money and the return on your investment.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the return on your investment with the money that you've put into your podcast, but also with all of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you start complaining like, oh, this is taking so much time. Oh, I'm really struggling. Oh, I can't come up with ideas. Oh, I need, I'd rather be doing this than recording. Why am I spending my days or my Friday night doing this? So, and then for this, I wanted to use a little analogy. And, when you have a goal in your mind that takes determination and it takes some guts, to be honest. When you, and I'm going to use the analogy of transforming your body. I'm going to use the analogy because I'm into fitness. I mean, I wish I have, and then here comes the excuse. I wish I had more time. But when you have that goal set and you want that, then there's nothing that will stop you. You will find the time, you will find the resources, you will wake up early, you will work hard until you achieve that goal because you're committed. It's just the same for you, for parents out there, like how the amount of commitment that we have for our kids. We are just determined to be part of their learning and of them being healthy, and we're just committed to that, and every day we do things towards those goals.
Yeah.
So same,
we make sacrifices.
sacrifices.
Yeah.
So same with time. Just it's a change in a mindset. Just think about why. It's a very good practice to go back and think about why you started your show. And also to have a noble objective too, because if you're doing this for somebody besides yourself, then you're not going to be complaining about time, because you're doing this for somebody else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, with that noble goal again, right?
So are you committed?
Are you committed?
And when
So
you're
that's-
committed, you make time for it. And you put that time aside to grow it, to nurture it, and to make it thrive.
Yeah, and then with this idea of commitment too is also this practice of visualizing your goals. So actually having clear goals.
Oh, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Sorry, I have to say hi to Dave.
And it's crazy with the podcasters we work with, how many of them, like most of them, don't have a clear goal. They don't know why they're podcasting. They don't know who they're podcasting for. They don't know who their audience is. They can't really define that for you. And I like to think of the analogy of knowing where you're going, just you see a giant skyscraper or a location you can see off into the distance, and if you actually can see that, there's 100 different ways to get to that location if you can visualize it. You can take the fast route, the fastest route possible. You can take the scenic route, whatever, right? So it's about visualizing specific results that you want to see happen with your podcast as well. And and just to know where you're going. And there's also nothing wrong with changing your strategy along the way, or changing your course along the way. So that's what I have to say about that. So
that was very profound.
Yes, yeah. So here's just with the time, just be quick to adapt and open to experiment with the same thing we were saying earlier. And then about money, what do you have to say about money, Veronica, and the costs of podcasting? And
well, this is what I'm always. So every time we talk to a podcaster, or if we have calls with clients or somebody who wants to take our services, as like how have a clear idea in mind. Like, how do you want to bring money to you using your podcast? Do you have a service to offer? Do you have a product to sell?
Yeah.
And just be very creative this way, because and just treat your podcast as a business.
Yeah.
Treat it as a business from the beginning. Just as you're not going to go and start selling something without knowing that there's going to be a buyer for it. I'm not just going to like make empanadas and go sell them here in the corner when I know that I'm surrounded by Americans who don't know about Colombian empanadas. Just the same way that I'm not going to do that probably you won't either. You need to spend a lot of time in the planning and the developing your idea and doing market research.
Yes.
And I'm talking to you on doing it because they're into marketing. So
well, and that's also, there's a lot of podcasters who monetize and make money from their podcast indirectly. They use their podcast to network, and then they use their podcast to drive people into their sales funnel for, like Veronica said, a product or a service that they're selling. So you might not initially have gotten into podcasting with the idea of having any kind of product to sell, but the more you network, you start becoming an expert in things. Yeah,
that doesn't mean that you can educate yourself and start promoting whatever it is that you want to promote or sell using your podcast, because you already have an audience.
And so when it comes to money with podcasting, it's about, again, commitment, and then it's about just thinking about your podcast as a business and really start to shift and think about it like that. And when people are first starting businesses, there's always a long period of time where you aren't going to make any money. You lose money for the first couple of years in a lot of businesses that you start. So and then it's just, sometimes it can take money to make money too. So, I mean, you've already spent all this money on gear. You've spent money on live streaming software. You spend $10 a month on Canva Pro and all these other subscriptions and Headliner. And but then, if you're ready to take risks and take your podcast to the next level because you have your content all dialed in, you've done these other steps that we've talked about where you kind of know where you're going, you know your goals, you know who your audience is, and you're ready to attract more people, then you can think about outsourcing. And outsourcing is incredible. I mean, just think about if you were able to afford $500, $1,000 a month for a social media person who's an expert on a social media platform, you would have so much traffic driving into your world, your enterprise, right? Your podcast. So there's those kind of things too.
It's gonna free up some time for you so you can develop that idea or that product that you want to sell.
So it's really the same thing to not get too bummed out about the return on investment, and to also, I think, look at other reasons, other rewards that you're getting that aren't off in the distance so much, that are more these immediate results and rewards that you're getting. And just know and believe in yourself and have faith in your creativity and your voice and what you have to offer people, and just stay with it, and just keep going and take yourself seriously, believe in yourself, and it's just one brick at a time.
Yeah.
And with that, just Don't get those podcasting
Yeah, so Dave
blues.
is saying, hey guys, I'm going to hang out a bit, crunching out some work for a client with you guys in the background. Yes. Here's one for you too. Oh, I'm blind.
You can't read it.
Here's one for you too. As a marketing proof and practitioner, I'm embarrassed to say I have little to no idea as to the size of our audience. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see?
It happens.
It happens.
Yeah, to us too,
Yeah.
right?
And even with the analytics.
Let's just share a little bit of our experience.
Oh, okay.
Like how we have to adapt and change things along the way.
Oh yeah, that's been crazy. Initially, we're constantly adapting and changing our idea of who our ideal listener is. Then we, initially, our whole goal was just to teach people audio production. That was why it's called the Pod Sound School. And then that took all sorts of different ways, and we're just having to adapt and be creative all the time. And it's been crazy. And then when you actually, so many people in social media and out there in the world are voyeurs, and you have so many listeners and so many people who are probably huge fans of yours that you would never know.
Loyal listeners.
And so it's hard to reach out. It's hard to find a way to get them to interact with you, and to get that interaction. And so there's been a lot of that, a lot of ups and downs. But for the most part, it's been a really fun and amazing experience of a lot of personal growth. And now we're reinventing ourselves again for season 3, for season 3 of our podcast, where we're going to start inviting on a lot of guests, and we're going to start just experimenting and continuing with everything that we're doing to try to put ourselves through the fire for our clients and for our podskis, to try to find the most effective ways of making an impact with your podcast. And so that's where this idea of money is. Many, many, many episodes next season are going to be spent talking about monetizing. And that's something that we are studying, and we're going to begin monetizing directly from our podcast. We've been monetizing indirectly from our podcast, but once we sort of figure out we're going to put ourselves through that test.
Yes.
So that we can then share that info with you guys as well.
Because that's what we do.
That's what
we put ourselves through the pains and suffering.
Through the pain and suffering. And yeah, that's really it. So I think those are the takeaways.
So Dave is asking, how do you guys measure listeners?
Well, that was
so. What do you mean, Dave? Like your audience? Like how many people tune in?
How many people tune in
for your podcast each week?
Yeah, so that's difficult because a lot of the analytics systems are based off of downloads. And so of those downloads, how many of them are actual listeners, that listen in every time? And the analytics are getting more advanced for that every day. iTunes actually, Apple Podcasts actually, I haven't looked at their analytics in a long time, but they have something supposedly that can measure your listeners now. But usually you just kind of divide your downloads by a certain number to figure it out. Because, as everybody knows on their podcast app, once you've subscribed to somebody, your phone automatically downloads their new episodes every time for a while, at least when they stay recent up in your podcast player there. And the same can happen in a lot of podcast players.
Yeah, but in my case, when I stop listening to a podcast, it's the downloads stop.
But it takes a little while to stop.
A couple of weeks,
yeah. And then the other thing is people might just pop in real quick. And so there's other analytics you can find. Simplecast has really good ones. Buzzsprout has really good ones now too. I think Libsyn does too. And the analytics are getting really good. That can show you audience retention. It can show you how much of the episode they're listening to. And it's so cool that those are becoming such a commonplace now, because that's going to give podcasters the ability to monetize even more, because they can directly tell people who might want to advertise on their show, they can directly show them the analytics of these are people who are really not only downloading our episodes, but they're like really into our things.
Oh, he's saying that, do you use iTunes Analytics? Does your host inform you? My host Acast gives me a bit, but not a lot.
Yes,
We have the same problem
we have the
with
same problem.
Squarespace.
Squarespace is just outrageously inaccurate. They try to tell you how many RSS subscribers they call it. And so we switched over to Blueberry, and Blueberry, I think they actually will do it for free, but with their analytics, they only show you analytics from when you first started. And they have very comprehensive analytics. They show you what kind of devices that people use, that they're on, and they call it clients. So we can see who's listening on Overcast, who's listening on iOS devices. Surprisingly, a lot of people listen to our podcast on their Apple Watch. That's very interesting. And so those analytics are pretty cool. I would definitely recommend Blueberry, because you can use Blueberry and you just put the redirect link in with your host, and it will redirect over to another analytics. That's what we have to do with our, and we're probably going to be migrating.
Oh, I can send you a message, Dave, with that information.
Yeah, because we kind of got off track there, but we're pretty much to the end here.
But I know I'll send you the service that we're using.
Yeah, and then I've got over here on YouTube, looks like no other comments after Eileen, but thank you everyone so much for joining. Happy holidays.
Thank you so much.
And we're really excited. This is really fun for us to show up every week and help you guys, find that fulfillment out of life, and that's, I think, the coolest thing that podcasting can do for us. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining over here on Twitter. We had a ton of people join. Jay Hunt, Chev, we had Wood33 and
Woody.
Mom Podcast. Thanks you guys all so much. Don't
Woody
fall
and
down.
Bus.
Don't fall down that trap. Don't get into those podcasting blues.
Yes.
Yeah, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, guys.
Happy holidays.
And we're going to be back strong with season 3
Yes.
in the second week of January, I believe it is, because our podcasts come out on Thursdays.
Get cozy with your family and friends. Take some time off if you need to. Reinvent yourself.
Take some time to yourself, too.
Take some time to yourself, yes.
And like a salt bath or something, or a massage or some spa treatments or something.
Yeah. And just come back on 2020, ready to kill
2020.
it.
Hashtag 2020.
Hashtag 2020.
Yeah, so happy holidays, everyone. It's always a blast.
We love you guys.
And talk to you.